Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show. Hi, am I on?
You're on.
I normally see a picture of me, but now I see the eclipse. But that's okay, because I'm sure everybody's tuning in to see the eclipse, and maybe there I am. We're in the call. Okay, hi. Okay, what a day to have my show. A lot of energy and a lot of things happening today. So please, if you feel free and you're not outside watching this, but I hope you're wearing glasses if you're outside, call in and ask me any questions you want. I'm getting a lot of energy from this eclipse. So here we go. And I actually have a very, very special guest today.
You actually
Dawn.
also have a caller.
I have a caller too.
But I'm
Okay.
excited to be here with you, and Sandy's here, and our studio audience.
I don't
is
think
here.
they're showing you, Dawn.
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
Talking about the solar eclipse, it's so amazing that your show happens to be right in the middle of when this whole eclipse is happening right now.
Right.
And I know they're showing it on, it's on screen. You can see some places it's already happened, and in Florida it's happening, I guess now.
I think it's as we're talking
we're
on
only
the
getting
air.
60%. What does your collective say is happening as far as energies and things that are coming forward?
Well, I feel very strongly that I don't believe it was coincidence. It could have been any day in the year, any day, but it happened to fall today. And I'm not giving myself the credit for that, but what I am giving myself the credit for, and anybody in the studio, the energy here is very, very strong right now, which obviously helps me in my show because I work with the energy. So what it's doing is it's even giving us more energy than what we normally have. And you know how much energy we have in this studio. But because it's a very, very special day in history and it will go down, it's not coincidental that my show happens to be today. I didn't make that happen, but it was meant to, obviously I didn't make that happen, but it was meant to be. So any questions, anybody that you say we have a call in, somebody calling in?
You want to send the caller over?
Okay, otherwise we can keep talking and then maybe
We'll see
contact
if they're there.
the caller. Hi.
Hey there, Shelley, it's me.
Oh, that me is Pete, correct?
Pete, I'm
Hi,
Pete.
Pete. Happy Eclipse Day.
There's an
Yes, it's
happy
happy.
Eclipse Day. I'm usually in the studio. Yeah.
Okay,
I have a question for you.
okay. Go ahead.
I'm all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
I can't hear you
dreams
too
about
well.
people I've never met.
You've been dreaming about people.
What do you think?
You're dreaming of people you haven't met? Well, my first reaction to that is I believe that you're going to meet them. I hope it was a good dream, because I do believe that some of the people you're meeting, I don't believe this was coincidental either, because we were going to talk about timelines, Dawn, and alternative timelines. So I believe that everything is happening, as you do too, and I know you understand this, Pete. It's all happening now. So my answer to your question is, I believe what we would say you were going into the future, but it really is happening. Do you remember any of the people in your dream?
Yeah, I remember them quite vividly, and how they looked at me too.
Okay, this is not a great
They
connection,
don't
but
say why they're there. They're just there.
can I just give you what and I'm sure you understand this, and I know you do. Write down, if you remember any of the dream, not just their faces, of a conversation that you think you may have had in your dream. Quote dream. I don't believe it was a dream. I believe you transported yourself somewhere else. That's what I'm saying, but only you will have the answers to that, not necessarily me. But if you've got any names from these people, write their names down. I believe this dream was very significant for you. Does that help you?
Yes, and do you think it's a positive or negative thing coming from them, and what I should do with it?
I believe that it's positive, but I believe that one person in that dream, and I'm not sure, I may have a negative undertone, if that makes sense. That's what I'm hearing, but you can turn that into a positive. Please let me know if you see any of these people or you recognize them. It was important. That dream was not coincidental. The fact you remembered it. Write down as much as you can, okay?
Yeah, very much. And can I give out my email address? Is that okay with you?
No.
Well, not right now because we've got a show, but we can maybe, if we'll give it out later, but I can't do it right in the middle of the show because I've got my show here with my email address. But thank you for calling in,
That
Peter.
sounds fun.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to go by what you said about these people inside the dream. I'm going
Thank
to
you.
go by what you said.
Okay, thank you for your call. Okay, anybody else or anyone in the studio would like to ask me a question? It can be timelines, the eclipse, obviously, because that's, oh my God, is it covering the whole of the moon right now and the sun? The
See
sun and
that?
the moon?
We're watching it.
We're watching it
as it
live on the
happens. Look at
show.
that.
Right. Oh, isn't that fantastic? This is history. And do you feel the energy at all? Anybody here in the studio, do you feel anything different? Do you feel like the vibration? I can feel, I mean, it's a little stronger right now.
I don't know, Sally. I've been up since 3:30
feel
this
like
morning, so I think as it started
feel-
happening in South America, I think I felt it woke me up.
Okay, and I think I was getting some of your energy a little earlier. I believe that the energy has made you have, if you don't mind me saying, a few headaches, which a lot of us have been suffering from.
Yeah.
But I kind of got the idea when you had a little massage, I was getting your pain of where it was actually coming from. So, okay, I think this has taken over my show. But hi, oh my God, look at this.
You talk about energies.
This is incredible.
Not all energies are good energies. Do you feel there's going to be, we've had some crazy things going on right now worldwide, right, in the country and politics and everything. Do you feel that things are going to be changing in a positive directions with this eclipse and the change in energies?
Okay, and I'm glad you asked me that question because I had a lot come to me last night. I don't usually, or I sometimes do listen to channelers, but my girlfriend, and Marita, if you're listening, and you know what I'm going to talk about, had sent me something to listen to, which I managed to get on YouTube, and it was about the eclipse. Well, whatever happens to me here, and I'm in some sort of a trance, although people don't realize that, it happened to me as I was listening to her show, and I'm suddenly getting a lot of energy and a lot of things that she was talking about, I was relating to, and it was all about the eclipse with the bad energy and the good energy. I don't remember, but if I can say some of it because it's somewhere here and my guys are helping me, it's all about how we are, where we are in our situation. If we say something, and this is life too, but especially right now, if we feel, and I've mentioned this before, that everything is going to go wrong, it's the voice of doom and it's negative, that's where we are. But what's happening right now is because if we think that way, because the energy, and I can't explain it, there is energy right now with what's happening. It's bringing tears to my eyes, actually. It's so much stronger. So all I can say, and this is so positive, please be positive, everybody, about your future, because where you are right now is so very, very important. I'm feeling it very, very strongly, that what we decide right now with what's happening, and you can see it, is so important to what's coming on. I'm getting a little bit of, just 1 second. Okay, I feel that what we think right now, because this is happening live, right? This is what's happening. Oh, it's not. Okay, but we're seeing the picture of it because it's affecting me. Okay, what we put out now.
This is pictures of eclipses. It's
Okay.
not,
All right, but that's all right. It's still having the effect because before and after the effects of the eclipse, we don't even have to believe it, Freddie. And you know, it's okay.
You know, Sally, if this were to change people's ways of being, then I would put this up on every studio.
No, it's not this as such. It's the energy. It's not this. We get energy. We get good energy. We get bad energy. We get negative and positive. We have to have that balance. But right now is an opportunity. That's all I'm saying. It's an opportunity. If you want to believe it, you don't have to. But if the energy is really strong, and the reason that it's strong, it's not just the eclipse, and this is coming to me too. Everybody is thinking about it. I don't care where you are in the world, they're looking at that. So it's oh my God, this is coming. It's the combined energy. It could be anything. It could be something on the news where a lot of people are watching. At that point, it's a combined energy that's coming from everywhere. So why don't we take this opportunity, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. A lot of people are watching this, to lift our vibrations for the earth, for it to continue the way that it is. Not even in our lives, because that will happen. If the earth is basically happy, let's say, we're going to have maybe more happy people here. I don't have all the answers. I'm understanding energy, and I know it's very, very important to right now, because so many people are concentrating on this, and obviously there may not be that many people listening to the show, and they may be watching the Eclipse, but I know this is shared, my show, a lot. It doesn't have to be right now, it can be any time, but if you're viewing this right now, lift up your vibrational energy, because what we're thinking and what we put out into the universe, it comes back. I believe this with all my heart. So if we're putting negativity out, let's stop it. Let's put positivity. It's easy to think positive. You may not believe it, but just change your thoughts and it will change your life. That's coming to me very strongly.
Well, it's nice to watch an orbital experience that takes sometimes hundreds of years to reoccur once, twice. I think that the planets are interesting in the way they're aligned. I think that the Egyptians and the pharaohs and people before us, all of it looked at it as something different. So they pray to it, they build sphinx to it, they build pyramids to it. I don't know. I'm not a firm believer that these orbitals, these galaxies are going to change human behavior. I think that it's the other way around. You know, it's what we do to capture and to be able to see these things as a people. When you get married and you celebrate a wedding and there's 10,000 people at your wedding, I can say the same thing that you just said, because you're collecting 10,000 different energies.
Of people.
But it's the ability to acknowledge it. It's the ability for it to happen. They tell me when there's a full moon, all sorts of strange things happen to people. You ever seen, you're driving along a full moon on the night and all the crazies are out? They call them the crazies. It's the same thing. I think it's what we do with it.
Absolutely.
But I think the energy is around us all the time.
That's really, and you've actually really said exactly what, maybe you put it even better than I did at this point, because that's exactly what I'm trying to say, because it's a combined energy, it's a collective. The more prayer, it works with prayer too. If more people pray, what we call miracles can happen. It can happen either way, even if the person's praying, but I think that combination of drawing in a lot more of us, of people here, helps. I truly believe that, because that energy is lifted and it goes to whoever we're praying for. It works. We've seen many what we call miracles. Could it have happened without that? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But we've seen it when you pray.
That's why it's a miracle, because it's only going to happen once.
That's right. So why I'm saying right now with the eclipse, instead of everything is bad because it's happening, the lights are going, I don't see any lights right now going up, of course they could. We said that when 2000 came in.
Yeah.
Right. Not a whole lot went wrong. But on a collective basis, if we'd all thought it was going to, certain things did happen. It didn't shut the whole world down, but things did happen. Things are happening with computers right now because that energy is going. I don't have the answers. I just know what I feel, you know. That energy is going towards whatever we're thinking. So all I'm saying, basically, how hard is it to think good things? That's all we have to do. We don't have to believe it.
But that's the trick, isn't it?
Absolutely, 100%. I used to say, fake it till you make it. You may not believe it, but that's okay. Just fake it and say, I am going to have a good day. It's no different to what I've been talking of any other time. I believe now, because it's the eclipse, I'm not changing because of this. All I'm saying is I believe that the energy that we're getting from this, I mean, everyone's talking about that. There is something going on with the sun and the moon. I believe it's giving out a stronger energy right now. So let's take advantage of that. It doesn't have to be right this second when they're together and there's no light. We can still do that because I don't work for NASA or something. But what I'm saying is it happened a few days before. It's going to go on for a few days afterwards. I know that many people are not watching the show, but they do listen to the records because I see shares. So at whatever time you're picking my show up right now, think positive. Let's see. I believe the energies are stronger for that to happen. it could be anything. It could be to take some pain away. It could be your job. It could be, why not? Let's think about it. Let's think about it. It can't hurt, and it may help, right?
Well, it's a strange coincidence how computers and electronic equipment has faltered in the last couple of weeks. It just doesn't work. You know, ships they run into barges because they lose power. I mean, there's no explaining the reason why. They're talking about human error. Altitude, bringing the doors of airplanes off.
There we go. We just saw one.
But they know this. You know, if you're flying a plane, you know that if you hit a certain altitude, that those doors can pop off. Now, they're saying they didn't think they were missing bolts. I get it. But there is things that happen because of human reaction. And I think that what you're saying, it proves a good point.
Yeah,
we all have the ability to do better.
And you say human error, which I was going to say, but it is. But we're human, and we're getting the effects of this. So human
we're creating
error
our
would
own
occur.
effects, though.
It would occur.
You're creating
We're creating
your own effects.
Exactly, that's what I was saying, because human error is coming from somewhere that's making our mind not maybe concentrate as much as we normally
Well,
would
we use
do.
the example of a 10-person wedding, and then you have a 1-person divorce after a certain number of years. I mean, again, human error. Sometimes you set out to believe in one thing, and then you end up, it doesn't work out, and you break it off. So human error is all around us. Accountability is the part that I want you to touch more on, because without accountability,
That's right.
then what good is human error?
You can't correct human error without
It's always
the
somebody else is doing.
Exactly, and it could be whatever the situation is. Human error happens. We all fall prey to human error, but the most important thing is to understand it, accept it, and then correct it. You have to also learn from it, because I believe we're on a learning cycle here. So if we don't, and I've talked about this before, well, karma will, as I call karma, but let's call it karma because people understand that, it's going to come back. It's going to come back to you, whatever you faulted and you don't correct. I mean, again, I don't have all the answers, but I've certainly understand this in my life. If I haven't corrected something, just in this particular lifetime, it comes back to me.
Wait, Sally, I have a question for you. What do you do? It's funny because, forget about the eclipse for a second, but what do you do if you've been there for someone and then all of a sudden they're not there for you? Do you turn the other cheek? Do you wait until it corrects itself, if it ever does? Do you ignore it, or do you move on?
My immediate answer is you don't ignore it. Think about it. And if they're not there for you, that's a type of I'm not going to say abuse, but it's not really the right thing to do, depending on who you are. I mean, so then I wouldn't say move on right away, but I'd certainly see if this pattern continues. And if you see, because I'm not saying if someone is doing something, that's it, you leave, or whatever the case may be. But if it keeps reoccurring and you're aware of it, which is important, because I would call that the first step, to be aware of what's happening, just see if it continues, because it may be a lesson for the person, but it also could be a lesson for you, because everything is on a learning curve here. So that person may not be aware of it, whatever it is, and they can continue. But once you know it's happening, you're aware of it, whatever it is. Just for me too, for anybody.
Then what do you do?
You excuse yourself from the situation.
Which means?
Either, however, would be best suited for yourself, because if you have to love yourself first, whatever the situation is. So if you feel that it can come in many forms, it could be a form of abuse, it could be that you're talking and that person may not be listening to you, they could be saying rude things to you, it doesn't matter. Only you know how you feel when it happens. You don't have to put up with that. I would give it I mean, I don't know obviously whatever you're talking about, and that's fine, I don't need to, because this goes for everybody. But it's only so much that we should take on our learning experience. And if you don't like it, be aware of it, and if that's not changing, then you excuse yourself from whatever the situation. It could be just going into another room. It could be many things. It could be not talking anymore to that person and they're not in your life. It could be how you want to handle it. But you handle it the best way that is for you at that point. You don't have to wish the person ill or whatever. You don't even really have to have a conversation about it. You can mention it, but you do what's best for you. And I mean that in the best way, because we all have situations like that. Do we always follow that? No, but it doesn't stop. So if you can point it out to somebody and it still doesn't stop, then you have to remove yourself from the situation however is best for you. Does that make sense to you?
Sure, absolutely.
Should we take a commercial break?
Yes, sure. Thank you.
More to come on the other side of this commercial break.
This world, this life, this illusion. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take time and see what is happening? This world as we know it, it seems so real and yet so far away from where we've come. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask? Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we can change and go forward. Please take the time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go in peace. Go with love. Go as one. Zena.
A true story, Call Me Zena is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of two and grandmother of four, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the third dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
My story starts at 4 or 5 years old. My name is Sally Bernard, and I was born at the end of the Second World War, in the middle of an air raid siren going off. My parents were in a movie theater, and my mother went into labor. My father ran out of the movie theater, but there was no cabs to be available because everybody is running for cover. However, they found one, and the taxi driver was given the address to take my father and my mother to the hospital. As my mother was in labor, about a half an hour, I arrived at exactly midnight. I think I was fed messages at a very early age. My parents used to like to play cards, and they had a card game every Wednesday or Thursday night at home when I was a baby. And I actually said to them one day, why do you keep waking me up at night? The card game is waking me up, and I can't get back to sleep so quickly. And they looked at each other and they said, we're not really waking her up. They were quite away from my bedroom. And they called in a psychic to say, what in the world is going on? And the psychic said that I'm getting many messages that are waking me up at night. I thought whatever I was experiencing, other people were experiencing too. You don't know until you realize that you are different. Many things were happening to me, things that were unexplainable to me. What I had dreamt was happening. I could sense many things, and the things that I was sensing were coming about, but something was going on. I will explain to you everything. You're ready. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book and artwork by visiting artbysallybernard.com. Now back to the show. Hi, we're back. Hopefully we still have the audience, and the eclipse, I think, is happening right now. If you're outside, you can always come back and listen to the recording, but of course you won't have heard that because you'd be outside. Okay, any questions in the studio?
Sandy might have a
Sandy,
question.
do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question right now.
Will you have one in a few minutes? Yes. I feel that you're going to have a question in a few minutes.
You were talking about vibrational energies earlier. With the eclipse, there's got to be more energies. We have to hone it in a little bit better?
I think the awareness that there's right now, we actually are given a gift, I feel right now, that whatever we're wanting, let's concentrate on it, because I think the energies are very strong right now. I can't guarantee, and I don't have the answers that it's going to happen, but let's believe that it is. So why not ask for what you want right now, be it before the eclipse or after the eclipse? Everything is subject to the energy right now, and I feel that very much. We were talking a little bit about that before in the studio here. It's basically what we believe. We believe the energy is strong. I believe it's strong. So let's go ahead and see if it is strong. That's what I believe. Let's go and ask for something that we want right now in the middle of the show. As you're listening, ask. It doesn't matter what time of the day is if you're on a record. Say to yourself out loud what you want. Give yourself 2 seconds or 3 seconds or a minute, and then see what happens. Believe it, though, when you say it.
Interesting. It's like putting it out there on steroids.
I'd like my story to be told.
There you go. And we have the similar thing here.
Closer to your mic, Sandy.
Oh, do I repeat that?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like my story to be told.
So is this a question, or you're just putting that we're voting it out there right now?
You said to concentrate on
Right.
something, and I believe in concentration. And
Well, what actually happened to me, and you brought that up, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I went out with a friend of mine for lunch yesterday. I haven't seen a very close friend of mine. I hadn't seen her for about 6 or 7 months. And she starts asking me, as I have a movie being written, a script for a movie, and my new book is coming out. And we were talking all about it, even mentioning the person that's writing my story. And I said, actually, I haven't heard from him in a little while. I had spoken to him a couple of weeks prior, but you know, he said he was going to be working on it, but we were talking about it, and she said, how much longer? I said, I really don't know. Let's see what happens. But what I didn't know is he was just emailing me at the same time that I was talking about him, because when I had finished my lunch, and I need to tell him this too, there is this long movie with a quarter of the script that he's already done for the movie as we were having that conversation.
wow,
So,
amazing.
you know, it works like that. I mean, yes, did I expect an email? Maybe, but, you know, at the precise
No, at that
moment that we were talking, I need to tell him that. So he's working and giving me a date for when the movie will be finished, the script, and the book. So here we go.
What is he saying?
Oh, he's delighted. He's loving what he's writing now, because he's getting into the movie part of it. I'm not used to, as you are, I know you've read scripts because you've had a movie, but I'm reading it, I'm going, this doesn't make sense. That I'm wearing this dress and I'm crossing my legs. I'm going, what is he talking about? But then I realized it's not a book, it's a movie script.
It's a script.
So yes, the only thing that he had slightly wrong is I have 4 grandchildren. He gave my daughters, Sydney, who is my granddaughter from my daughter, he gave her the wrong name of one of my other grandchildren, but that was all. So that was the only correction I had. I said it needs to be my granddaughter from my daughter, because she's also in the script, in the book. And both, actually, how he's doing
How is
it.
he feeling the story's going and the script is going?
He's loving it. The fact that he's saying, I'm loving doing this now, and I read it in a tiny, you know, on my phone. I don't know, I'm not very computer literate, but I was reading it and I was crying my eyes out as I was reading what he'd written. Once I got used to the way of reading it, like she's standing on the corner or she's in a coffee shop, I'm going, what the heck is he talking about? But that's how a producer will need to have to read it. So I was delighted, and it should be finished in a couple of weeks, the movie, and then we'll go on. He's already started the book, I believe. So Gina, I don't know if you're watching, or I'll tell you to tune into this show. I want to thank you. You're doing an amazing job.
What are you hoping to achieve by sharing your movie and your story?
That's a very good question. I just, and I was talking to my girlfriend also about what, because she asked me something a little bit similar to that. And I'm going, it's not necessarily, it's to give my message out. And she's like 20 years younger than me. And I've mentioned this before. She happens to be an attorney. And I said to her, because she can write very well too, I said, I don't know. We never know when we're going to go. I just want it. It's not necessarily for fame. It's because I need to do it for the world. If I can just put in a little tiny bit of positivity and mainly a lot to do with my art, which is behind me. I've never had a lesson, and a lot of my art, as you know, people know, it changes. And I have to thank you, Sandy, because from the first day that we met, which was many, many years ago when I was living in Orlando, you came with a friend of ours, a mutual friend, and you looked at the artwork that I had, and you were absolutely amazed. Now that's many years ago, but now I feel that I need to, because my style, as you can see, has changed drastically, to show people, and my message is, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Believe it, and then you'll find, little by little, as Aldo used to say to me, it will happen.
So are you hoping to share your artwork, or that time travel continuums are possible and it's greater?
Yeah, everything. What happened to me, he's taking me from birth. What happened to me as a child, which I only now are aware of on my book, on my story, on my movie. I would like it to be a success because everybody out there, and there might be, even if it just affected the people in the audience, maybe there's 200 or 300 people watching it, maybe even 12 people can pass on a message that happened to me. It's not just for me that this happened. And Aldo, and you knew Aldo, said to me, pass on what I'm giving you, because you can be my mouthpiece. And I truly believe, I've had so much validation the last couple of weeks from him. I'm not surprised that the script is nearly ready now, that he's given me, because he's deceased, he's passed, he's transitioned, he's with me so strongly. I see his name, it comes up when I put my computer on. Many things that he's doing for me right now. I cannot ignore it. I believe it, but I still get that moment. I saw a license, a tag with I am a Gama. That's his name on a tag.
Wow.
So on a car. I mean, how do you explain these things?
It
hard.
gives you validation that you're on the right path.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. And it seems that he comes to me, and we've all got, and you did this on one of the things on Facebook, we all have an Aldo in our lives. I'm just using the person that was with me, and his name was Aldo, but we all have our guides. I have other guides, but because he could help me so much on earth, the people that know my story, he had been looking for me as a child and didn't know me, and found me at a very appropriate time when he came into a dream of mine. I didn't know who he was, but he explained the whole dream. He followed me in my life for 18 years and taught me so much. That's not coincidental. I know what happened to me. Do I expect everybody to believe it? Absolutely not. But I was never psychic, so I thought, although I was, but I didn't know. I could never paint. I had never, if anyone knows about astral projection and going to different planets, I didn't know these things existed. And suddenly it all came to me. So I was ready because I kept an open mind. So,
You think everyone has an Aldo? Everyone has,
yes,
I call them a walking guide?
absolutely everybody. And I think we don't just have one, we have several guides. It's up to us right now to listen. If you don't believe it or whatever, be it religion or anything, just know that you're being helped. You're being helped from I'm going to say a power, I'm going to say greater than us, because we're not aware of it. It can be anything. It can be anything. But that power exists within us. We are able to tap into that absolutely 100%.
So we just ask.
Ask. And you know what? They say you will receive. So ask and you'll see. But you have to have an open mind. I apparently didn't for many years, although I'm getting messages here, there, and everywhere. But I had to paint from, not everybody believes, although many more people are believing in past existence and previous lives, I'm painting things that I've never seen from this lifetime. It was very hard for me to deny this, because Aldo said, go into the internet and you're going to see exactly what you painted. I'm not special. I just tapped into it. It happened. I often say that. It's not about ego. Oh, look what I can do. No, we can all do this. but you've truly got to believe that that power is within us. It's in each one of us. However you want to see it, through religion, and you can see whatever you believe it, you will see it. But please open your mind up and believe it.
Well, I agree with that because I walked by faith and not by sight. And every day it was a horror show. But I walked by faith.
Sandy,
and I was ridiculed
yeah.
and
Your-
beaten up. I had it all done to me.
Your story is absolutely amazing, and when you feel that you want to share some of it on my show, it's a little difficult right now, but I so want you to open up.
Sandy,
just
turn
a
your
little.
mic. Sandy, turn your
Sandy,
mic towards your
into a
mouth.
little- just
Put
turn
the
it.
top towards you.
See the green light?
I
Okay,
did.
we have a
Uh-oh.
technical issue, and it's
wasn't
nothing to
speaking.
do with the eclipse.
Sandy,
Just put it closer to your mouth.
Oh,
Okay, your story, you still had to come forward a little bit. Speak into it. That's perfectly all right. You'll get used to it. I did. Didn't know where the mic was. Now I don't even know because it's on me. But your story is unbelievable. You have a movie out there about your story. So please, when you feel ready, sit where Dawn is and we'll talk about what happened to you, because you've had miracles. You were strong. You may not have realized it, but it's hard to go into it right now because it's a long story. But just remember the name. And if anybody, please feel free to give out your movie if you want to. People listening, give out the movie that you have. Do you want me to?
no.
All right. Can I
Well,
give your
I-
name out so they can Google you?
No.
No. All right. I don't want to do anything that you're not comfortable with.
What do you want to share about your story? What is it about your story that you want out there?
Well, I think we need to have a lot of faith. And it was all about faith, what happened to me in a very dark situation. And I believed. I believed in what I was told from the missionaries. And it happened. But it's like moving a mountain from one scene totally across. It was just amazing. And no one would believe. Then I was ridiculed. I was beaten up. I was in a bad place, but miracles did happen to me, and I had visions, and it was just incredible.
You still? Do you still have visions?
I don't get the visions now, but while I was there, like 9/11, I couldn't. When I got out, I asked if there was a plane crash. Not a plane crash. A destruction. And no one could relate to that. And then I said, oh, forget it. And then when I saw it, I said, oh, my God, it was exactly what the vision was. I was outside in the backyard with my mother, the jet's coming towards me. Oh, Mom, look at the jet. And then it turned sharply, which was Pennsylvania. And I said, look at the people walking around. And then they crashed. But it was a little more detailed than that. But just, I had things like that came to me.
Sandy,
And my freedom.
Certainly don't want to interrupt you, but the audience won't know unless we can tell them a little. So please, I'm asking you right now, be my guest on my show and we'll put whatever happened to you when you're ready. Because people are saying, what is she talking about? And I totally understand that. But this
Walk
lady
by
has
faith.
been... Exactly.
Not
And that's
by sight.
basically what I wanted to say to you, to the audience. You are a perfect example of what we're talking about. And it's hard to give your story in 5 minutes, and I know that. But when you're ready, we're very good friends. I've known you a long time. Just you're coming to the studio a lot, but I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. But the fact that you answered it by faith, it's so
Not by
very
sight.
important, right? So,
This is the message. Did you always have faith, Sally?
no, I absolutely didn't. I mean, I always tried to be positive because my life was not easy. People that will read my book, in the very beginning, it was difficult. But I didn't want to continue my life that way. So I acted out. I went to a boarding school because that's what I wanted to do at that point. I was always on detention every week, and people used to look at me, you don't look like you should be on detention. So we act out until I got older and I was realizing that there was something more. And that acting out turned into the fact that I was seeing and hearing so much that I wasn't even aware of. And I was angry because I didn't understand it sometimes. But I see now how it led me to do some I would say stupid things at this point, to get on a plane and come over here, not knowing a soul with no money. Who in the world would do something like that? But I basically had nothing to lose at that point. I had lost everything anyway. So anybody out there, and it's not about me and my story, we'll go into that, but just know that if you are having a hard time, and there are many people that are, we don't go through this life without having some difficulty. It's a learning experience. Today I'm very comfortable with my life. I see really where it was going. Yeah, I still get things, but they're lessons. And I have to look at it. Anybody, they are lessons. We grow from lessons. We go to school to learn. We learn from what we're teaching. What's coming to me is we teach ourselves on this journey. We only answer to ourselves, because after all, we are, and you hear people say we are a one, and I'm an empath, and I certainly can tell you about that because I felt your pain today. But basically, we are on this journey to learn. So the harder it's getting, and my life has been difficult actually, I've lost many people that are close to me. I'm learning from that still.
So how do you still stay in faith?
Why is faith tested every day?
Because that's what we're doing. Because how do we learn? If everything was going the way that we were, we wouldn't have to think about faith. We'd go through this life saying, oh, this is a piece of cake, it's easy. But when you're hurting, what we do, and they hear, you often hear of people that have had addictions or whatever, and they reach their rock bottom, and they then say, help me. It's the same with us. We don't have to have an addiction to have that. Any of us can have that. We look up to something that is greater, that we believe, than ourselves. It is us, and we have a higher self, but we turn that into, again, a positive. We look up and say, be it God, be it Jesus, it doesn't matter. As long as we believe that person is going to help us, help me. I've had enough of this. And if you believe that, truly believe it. I didn't in the beginning, but then I had some crazy things happen. I had to believe it, and today I'm a big believer. Try it. What can happen? Nothing may happen, but at least you're trying something. It gives you just that peace of mind when you're hurting so badly. And I think that's what my movie and my message and my book will be about. It's helping something within you, because there's so many people crying out for help and they don't know where to go. And I certainly can talk from experience here. Only writing my story is bringing back for so much. I had everything, I lost everything, but it's not about me, but I'm able to give this story because it happened to me personally. Money is good, we need money, but it's not all about money either. People can say, oh, she can say that. I can say it, but it's not everything. We have other things, and if you believe that, money comes to you anyway. Boy, I feel like a preacher.
What do my guides have to say today? What's their message?
Okay, they're saying to me that you're growing, and they're going internally, okay? Keep doing what you're doing. Keep the faith. And they're saying to me, please keep the faith. You're being trial and error. In other words, you're getting, as what we were just talking about, the harder the situation that you're having to cope with is actually going to help you, because we grow out of that. If everything is, we think, people say, and they say they jinx it, everything's going so smoothly, and then something happens. But it's there to help us grow, because if everything's going smoothly, even for a year, we're not really learning. So right now, if anything is going on, which I believe there is, and it's okay, I mean, I can pick up your vibrational energy, Dawn, this too shall pass. In the big picture, it's important because it's important with the surroundings, but how really important is it that you can still change within you? You can't change anybody else. That's important. They're telling me to tell you that. There is no way that you can change anybody else. You can change by example. So if you show yourself or you remove yourself from a certain situation, and sometimes that's hard. It's hard. We were talking about that earlier. It helps the other people sometimes. I'm not saying ignore it, because I don't want you to do that. But sometimes you have to remove yourself from that nicely. with love. And you hear that, oh, there she goes again with love. But it's true. And Marita, if you're listening, and she talks love all the time. I said I'd say hello to you if you're listening. Hi, Marita. I'm telling Dawn, and you can relate to this, okay? Do it with love. Was that thunder, or was that the eclipse telling us something, or somebody in a car? Okay, so in order to get back to where I was saying, let go with love. That's really important. And people around you, whatever situation, be it an older person or even a younger person, through your example, they will change, and so will you. Does
But
that
Sally,
help you?
how is it that you can live your life based on what other people are making you feel? I don't understand that.
How do I live my life?
In other words, if you have physicalities, or you emotionally are disturbed because of how other people are treating you, and you're saying to treat them with love and understanding, how does that equate to you?
Me personally?
Not you, but the person involved. How does it equate
Okay,
to them being able to
it's a
live
very
that way?
difficult lesson, Freddie, but if you...
Difficult is one thing, but is the lesson the lesson?
It's a lesson, and it's a lesson for me and everyone here, because our first reaction to somebody that's doing something to you, which I had said earlier, I believe, I don't always remember what I'm saying, is to take yourself out of a situation, but you can let go with love. I know that's hard to understand. Do I follow that? No, I do not follow that all the time, and I openly admit that, but I'm aware of it. So you can remove yourself from people, from places, and even things with love. You don't want anything necessarily, you don't want to harm anybody, no matter what they've done necessarily, because then you're putting yourself into a very low vibrational energy. But you can remove yourself from that situation and send whatever love may be to you, send to that person, if you can. It's a very difficult lesson to learn, but I believe each and every one of us has had some example of that. It doesn't have to be terrible, that person, but just remove yourself from that person at the right time. But you don't want to wish whoever it is, let's call them your enemy, for instance, you don't want to wish them ill. So to me, that would be love, because you're not saying I want
But
something.
isn't the other person then wishing you ill? I mean, I don't understand.
Okay, that's a different question. Absolutely. Aldo used to tell me about that. Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. He said you can put a shield across you. And this is something that he told me, and he's talking to me right now. I can feel it. Someone is sending you bad, negative energy. We weren't necessarily talking about that, but I see
It's
what...
changing your present life.
Okay, well, if they're sending you bad energy, you put a shield up around you. And you have to be careful about that, because he explained this to me, and I actually saw this happen. They're sending you back. You send it, it goes back to them. I'm not saying do that, but in the law of the universe, apparently that's what can happen. So again, you don't necessarily, although they're sending you bad vibrations, you don't necessarily, but you know what, you also got to take care of yourself too. So I might get people saying, what in the hell is she talking about? Excuse me. But can you see what I'm saying a little bit?
No, I can't. Not at all.
that's
Because
okay.
if somebody is creating harm and they know that they're doing it, and they continue to do it, what you're telling me to do is to protect yourself from somebody that's actually, you're doing what you should do. The other person has to learn to act the same way. I don't understand where the lesson learned.
Then you
This is
remove
a
yourself.
one-sided lesson.
Yes, because you remove yourself. You may not, you may
That's
still,
not lesson learned.
Yes, it is, because you can still think about the situation. They've shown, this is coming very strongly to me, and I see exactly what you're
You
saying.
learn. I'm talking about the person who's doing
That's
it.
their business.
But it's your business.
Because you remove yourself, it then isn't your business. But you can learn from what has happened to you. This is important, and I'm seeing it maybe for the first time too. You can see through that situation what is happening to you. You don't have to take that abuse, but you have to learn from that. You can be out of a situation and still learn about what happened to you.
You are learning. That's not the question. It's the one that's creating the abuse. What are they learning?
Maybe nothing.
Nothing, but that's where you don't have to worry about that.
Of course you have to worry
No, you
about
don't.
it. But if you don't worry about it, then you're bound to continue to do
No,
it.
not,
because
they
you've
are.
excused yourself.
And you're taking it in.
Okay, let me let me
Am I
see.
wrong here,
No.
Sandy? Help me.
Freddie,
I
let me while I'm
understand
right
it only
here.
too well
Let me
because
just
I'm
show you.
going through
Please,
it.
just do this
And
because
I'm
this is
feeling
important.
that.
Ask me again, and I'm going to give it to you in black and white. Here, give me the question again.
If you're if you're in a relationship where you're getting the burn of it,
Okay.
and you are learning the lessons, and of course you're doing the right things and you're saying all the
Okay,
right things,
okay.
I get it, getting yourself removed, but the person doing it learns absolutely nada.
Okay, if that person, let's do this too, they're telling me to tell you this. If that person, whatever it is, the abuse or whatever they're doing, you've excused yourself, I hate to say this, but that's their business right now because you've removed yourself. But you may need to hear that. This is also important. So when you remove yourself or out of that person's life, let's say, you can then look at what actually happened. And actually the lesson, and this is coming very loud to me, is for both of you. Only the thing that you have to concentrate on is yourself, okay? That person has to concentrate, it applies to everyone, on their self. So if they're upset or they've got angry, that's their problem to them to work out. You're aware of this
But
now.
I'm going to add more mix to the complications. What if
Okay.
you have children with this person?
Okay.
What if there is other accountabilities? This isn't a
is very important
one-on-one.
too, because I came from a broken home and I ended up going through a lot of problems because my parents did not agree with anything and they used to argue in front of me. So I'm very aware of this situation. You have to have that balance. If it's a child involved, which is very touches my heart, you then have to maybe say to the child, they don't have to know everything that's going on. That's your mother or that's your father. I'm not going to speak ill about that person. That did not happen to me. My parents were not that way. So I absolutely feel very strongly about this. A child is a different situation. The child doesn't have to know everything, but you continue to love that child, each one of you, each parent, but you do not speak bad about the mother or the father. That is so important.
But this is an assumption you're talking about a marital situation. What if it's your brother or your sister? What if it's somebody in your family, not your spouse?
Do the same thing, Freddie.
That
It's not
doesn't
easy. And I'm not
easy.
saying...
What you're saying is that if it's my sister, who was the only one that I have left, that it's her problem. I don't agree with that.
But if she's giving... Think about it then this way. Let's change it a little bit. I'm not saying it's your sister, but I don't even want to use... A person, okay?
Person.
Whoever it is going through a very difficult time, let's say, and you don't know necessarily what's going on in their mind. And this is just coming to me. Sally could not explain this, but they are, okay? And you see that they're talking badly to you. It may be coming from a different place, but you still don't have to accept that. So the best thing at that point, if it is a family member, it's a little more hurtful because it's a family member and you can't, although many people unfortunately do not talk to their relatives, okay? But you may not want to do that. So the best thing to do is, without anger, talk that whole situation out, because this is a slightly different thing to what we're maybe talking about. Communication is the key to this, and balance. Communication and balance. If all else fails, then we go back to the last part of my show. We then have to remove ourselves. But especially if it's someone who's been very close to you, we need to go a little further.
But you can't pick your family, Sally. You can't remove yourself from family.
Yes,
No
you
matter
can.
what happens.
You can.
No,
Many
you
people
can't.
do
No matter
that.
what
You don't
happens.
mentally remove yourself.
Not even
but
physically.
People do all the time. I'm
Trust
not saying
you
it's
me,
the right thing to
you
do.
can walk away from a sibling, and when they're in
Yes, you
trouble,
can.
you're going to end up at their doorstep.
Well, not everybody does, and I'm not saying that you
I
shouldn't.
haven't met anybody who
I
hasn't.
have. I've met several people that do not speak, unfortunately, to their kids.
They'll be
I'm
at the
not
funeral.
suggesting that that's the right thing to do.
But they'll be at the funeral.
So then, well, this is awful.
And then the guilt goes with you for the rest of your
but
life.
this is a whole different... We need a psychiatrist for this, okay?
It's not that. What I'm trying to say is that there's no accountability on the one creating the problem.
Well,
and that's a
there's
problem.
no. Then they are accountable for their act. And okay. Let's say that, and that, I don't know how far we're into the show. Everybody is accountable to themselves. If you choose or they choose not to speak to a sibling or a brother or a mother, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's a family member. If they're being so abused The same thing applies. Mentally, it's a lot harder. But you know what? Our hardest lessons come from our families.
Yes, it
because
is.
it hurts.
That's the learning lesson, because
That's right.
you can't walk away from family.
Well, I'm saying
Man,
you
you
shouldn't.
can try all
But
you
many
want.
people do, Freddie. Many people do. Are they happier? No, because they're hurting so badly. But they do excuse it. I'm not saying do that. Absolutely don't. If there's other road, please don't think I'm saying that. I'm not saying that at all. But sometimes it's so bad for the other person, even if it's a temporary walking away, they'll always be on your mind. Family will always be on your mind, no matter what you do. But you can't keep putting yourself back into an abusive situation. It's not good for either one of you. That's
Agreed.
basically.
I agree. This is why I'm asking, what do you
Yeah.
do?
Well,
True.
okay. Yeah, this is absolutely true. So what I'm saying, I don't remember necessarily. It's not me, and I'm not a psychiatrist. But I feel obviously, if you can work something out, and I have 2 minutes to give this end of the story, please try and do so. Family members, it's horrific. It's horrible when it happens. But unfortunately in life,